I'm Lazy B, justice seeker, story keeper, and we're still watching, waiting for justice.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm excited to go over Jessy's case more. We're going to be watching her defense's opening, and I'm excited about that because I'm going to hear what they say. But I'm going to do a little intro first, and then we'll start. This is just about 4 minutes just to catch everybody up to speed. What if I told you someone could be poisoned slowly, right in their own home? Not with something rare, not with something exotic or hard to obtain, but with something sitting in almost every medicine cabinet or purse in America. Eye drops. And what's even more disturbing, the person accused was someone the victim trusted the most. This is the eye drop killer, the case of Jessy Kurczewski. Jessy was a Wisconsin woman at the center of one of the most unsettling poisoning cases in recent years. At first glance, it looks like a tragic death. A woman was found unresponsive. A grieving friend was there. But investigators would soon uncover something far more sinister, because this just wasn't about friendship. This was about control and manipulation and a deadly substance in a medicine cabinet. Prosecutors said that Jessy poisoned her friend using eye drops, specifically products containing tetrahydrozoline. Now that might sound harmless, but in large amounts it can be incredibly dangerous. It's the same ingredient found in Visine eye drops. It causes sedation, slowed breathing, and even death. According to the state of Wisconsin, this wasn't an accident. They allege this was intentional and calculated. It gets even more chilling. Authorities said Jessy didn't just administer the Visine eye drops. She inserted herself into the victim's life. She gained trust, becoming indispensable. And then the trust turned deadly. What was the motive? Well, things took another turn. Investigators alleged there was financial gain, and that played a role. Claims of money, control over financial accounts, and a life that may not have been what it seemed. The defense told a different story. They argued this wasn't murder at all, but a tragic, complicated situation involving a vulnerable woman who unalived herself. What really happened inside that home? Was this a calculated poisoning or something far less? Welcome to parts 3 and 4 this weekend. We have been watching the interrogation of Jessy as she denies that she ever had anything to do with the Visine. This isn't a case just about poisoning. It's a case about trust, deception, and how something so ordinary can become a weapon. Jessy claims Lynn had horrific dry eye and that she was using multiple bottles of Visine at a time. I believe we all know Visine is not for dry eye. It is to remove the redness. Let's continue as we see further interrogations of Jessy. She is currently, in the videos we're watching this weekend, incarcerated for parole violations. She has served time in prison on forgery charges. We also are watching the opening statements of Jessy's trial in November of 2023. On Saturday, we watched the prosecution's opening, And on Sunday, we will watch Jesse's defense attorney's opening. I'm Leslie B., and this is True Crime in a Minute. Thank you for being here. All right, good morning. So we are now going to watch the defense's opening statement. And again, this is in her trial. That was in November of 23.
They went here, but make sure they're all ready to go. Was your computer air connected, like the air table or the hard
cables? But it was HDMI cable, right?
the first one?
They would call Deputy Rosenberger.
All right, Deputy, if you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser on my right. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, this doesn't seem right because that looked like the first witness. We know this was the prosecutor. Let's see.
Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. Always.
Might have been labeled wrong.
So you don't get feedback, why don't you hand Madam Clerk the other mics and stuff?
Two,
Yeah,
I
here.
gotta get close. I gotta get closer. I want to see you all. Thank you for being here. This is day 2 and only maybe 15 to go. Hopefully sooner rather than later. As the prosecution says, we're gonna try to get this case done as quick as possible, but not too quick. This case is extremely important to Jessy. And as you sit there, I want you to look at her. She's presumed innocent. As you sit there, right there. And don't ever let that thought leave your mind that she's presumed innocent. No matter what he just said, when he's throwing all this stuff at the wall to try for you to find her guilty, she's presumed innocent. And that's the jury instruction the judge just read to you. All defendants are presumed innocent. And if you can reconcile under reasonable hypothesis that she's innocent, you have to, of all the charges. If there's any kind of hypothesis, reasonable hypothesis that she's innocent, you gotta find her not guilty. And I hope you understand that. As you sit here every single day, as you listen to their case, I want you to keep in your mind that she's presumed innocent. And never lose that thought as you hear their witnesses. Because in order to find her guilty under common sense and logic, which you're allowed to do, your common sense and life experiences, you're gonna have to speculate. And the judge just told you, you can't do that. You're gonna have to guess and speculate what Lynn Hernan thought while all this was going on. And if Lynn Hernan was here today, she would say, "Are you crazy, prosecution?" That's my daughter that you have sitting there at that desk over there. That's my daughter. She knew everything that I was doing when I was doing this. I loved her. I loved her. She's my daughter. I've known her since she was 8 or 9 years old. That's how long Lynn knew Jessy, since she was a child. Here's a picture of Lynn and Jessy, a graduation party that Lynn threw for Jessy, high school. And there's more photos of Lynn. See how she's grabbing her in these photos? Look at her, how she's grabbing Jessy. This is my daughter. She's so proud of Jessy. Has her arms around her, hand on her head. That's who Jessy is to Lynn, her daughter, even though not by blood. And there's more photos. Same photo. Lynn liked jewelry. She liked getting her nails done and her hair done. But she loved that person that she has arms around. And there's more photos of Lynn and Jessy. Look how she's holding her. This is my daughter. I'm so proud of her. And them not knowing this about Lynn and Jessy, not knowing the dynamics about Lynn and Jessy, maybe in their view of this, doesn't make sense to them. Why Lynn would give Jessy all this money, why a mother would give their daughter or their son money. And as he said, he's correct. Lynn had two groups of friends. She had Jennifer and Jessy, and then she had Keith, James, Corrine, and Anthony. But the problem was with what he told you is we all have circles in our lives, circles, where we only keep a few people in our circle. And only keep these few people that we have in our circle, the people that know our secrets, that we talk to every day and share everything with when we're not feeling good or feeling happiness and sadness. And that was Jennifer and Jessy. She was in Lynn's circle. When Lynn needed help, she called on them every single time. When Lynn needed help, she called on Jennifer. Jennifer is like her best friend. And Jessy became her best friend. When Lynn needed to move in 2009, Jennifer helped her and Jennifer's boyfriend, Gary Verdon. She didn't call Keith, James, Anthony, or Corrine. Who do you call when you move? Your friends, your closest friends or relatives. That's who she called, Jennifer. When Lynn needed to move into this condo, who did she call? Jennifer and Gary Verdun. She didn't call James, Keith, Corrine, or Anthony. They didn't help her. When Lynn's mother died in 2013, who did she call to help her drive to Madison and help clean up her mother's place and get it ready to sell? Jennifer and Gary. They drove to Madison and helped Lynn clean out her mother's house. She didn't call these four other people. They weren't in her circle, that inner circle. And their documents that they gave us is in the proof. Her bank account, Lynn had all this money in two bank accounts, her checking account and her money market account. Who was on her account with her? Joint. Jennifer Flower. That was her checking account. Jennifer was joint on that account. She loved Jennifer. Her money market account, again, she had a lot of money in the money market account. Who was on that account? Jennifer. When you have a joint account, who do you put on the account again? Your husband? Your wife? Here, Lynn didn't have anybody. She had Jennifer. Jennifer, it's like together. Lynn needed help, Jennifer helped her. When Jennifer needed help, Lynn helped her. When Jessy needed help, Lynn helped her because she loved, that's her daughter. Anthony and Courtney, they didn't need help, they had money. This case, as the state's kind of said, during this time, it doesn't make sense to them, is Lynn was on disability, full disability. She had all this money and she was receiving food stamps. She was getting full insurance and food stamps during this time, since 2009. And that was real important to Lynn, not to lose that. And you can lose it, depends upon how much money you make, money you have in your accounts. Because you're not supposed to get food stamps from full disability. You're not supposed to get disability and food stamps when you got a lot of money. Because why do we want to pay for somebody who's got a lot of money for their insurance and food stamps? Taxpayers. Lynn was on food stamps until she died with all this money. From the moment she inherited all this money until she died. But this is a case where they see a suicide. Can you give me the next slide? Lynn liked her vodka. And when she died on October 3rd, 2018, she had alcohol in her system. I'm not saying she's a bad person. She just liked that vodka. She also liked Visine. I have no idea why. Why somebody would put Visine in their alcohol or Visine in water. I don't know why people smoke marijuana. I don't know why people do heroin. I don't know why people do cocaine. I don't know why people do fentanyl. I don't get it, but people like doing it. That stuff doesn't make sense to me, why people want to put that in their body. Lynn liked to put Visine and vodka and water. Why? Who knows? I don't know. Like, I don't know why people do heroin and cocaine, but they like doing it. When Lynn passed away, they talk about, and I want you to hold him to this prosecutor, when he came up here and said, the tetrahydrozoline, the Visine killed Lynn. You hold him to that when he came up here, that's what killed her. To this day, no one's ever died from Visine, ever, on planet Earth. No one, not one person's ever died from Visine, tetrahydrozoline poisoning. It's never happened. And I learned during this case, it's kind of like marijuana. You can smoke blunt after blunt after blunt after.
Well, I think he's wrong because I think that's how Lynn died. I'm just going to say that.
Blunt after blunt, and it can't kill you. The ingredients of marijuana. And I learned it through this case.
Ooh, great idea.
That you can smoke all day, every day marijuana, it can't kill you. Apparently something with your body. And it's like that with Visine. It can't kill you.
Judge, I'm going to object. That's not what any of the evidence is going to come in to say.
Attorney Galaviz, rephrase.
Well, we'll see.
These are opening statements, not arguments. Save that for your closing.
But when they arrived on the scene, this is what they found at the scene. Clozapine, the one in the middle, I wouldn't be able to say it. Nifedipine. They found more prescription drugs, empty bottles. A closer look at clozapine, that was empty. More bottles. Baclofen, they found a lot of empty prescription bottles. You know why they were empty? They're inside Lynn. She had about 25 to 30 prescription pills in her system. And she was only supposed to have 5 or 6. And they can't see that as a suicide? When you're only supposed to take 5 or 6 and you get about 25 to 30, you know that baclofen she's not even supposed to have in her system. And she had about 10 to 15 of those pills in her system. That clozapine, she wasn't even supposed to have that in her system. And she had about 10 of those pills. That nifedipine, she was supposed to have that in her system, but not to the volume that she had. She was only supposed to have 1 or 2 in her system, and she had about 7. And you'll hear from people, clozapine kills people. Baclofen kills people. Nifedipine kills people. Reported suicides with those 3 pills. And she had a boatload of that in her system. And they're saying that the Visine kills her, not these 25 to 30 other pills that she had in her system, that she took, along with the alcohol. Again, more trust Lynn had in Jessy. Here's a living will. April 20th, 2018. Who did she name on the will? Jessy. And the lockbox at the bank? Jessy. Lynn died October 3rd, 2018. That's the responsibility, that connection they had, Jessy and Lynn. Do you see Anthony's name on there, or Keith, or Corrine? Jessy. You know why? Because Jessy was the one that bought her, went all her shopping, took her to the hospital. If she had a medical appointment, Jessy took her. Jessy would come to her house and change her and clean her. When Lynn would have mistakes, Jessy was the one that she would call all the time. You can have Scott Craig's going to tell you, Lynn was always calling her, like almost every single day. Jessy had to drive from Milwaukee to Pewaukee to take care of Lynn. And you can say Jessy ended up quitting her job in June to take care of Lynn, because Jessy was the only person she trusted. Jennifer was living somewhere else in Milwaukee, but Jessy quit her job to take care of her. And as we all know, taking care of somebody who's in that state of mind is not easy. But Jessy would do all the shopping for her, cleaning, taking her to doctor's appointments, back and forth, back and forth. Because again, she's in that circle. Next. I don't know if you can shorten that, but this.
Better.
Yeah, can you move it a little bit? This is Lynn. See the date this license was issued? June 21st, 2018. During this whole time that this is happening, that they're claiming that this is happening. Lynn went and got her license renewed.
Not that good at that, apparently. Here we go.
And on the driver's license, you see that she weighed 150 pounds, give or take. On the autopsy, she weighed 251 pounds. From June to October, she got real sick. We're going to bring in hospital records, and she'll tell you how sick she got and how many times she had to go to the hospital. Lynn was really sick and depressed. And you saw the way she was done up with the hair and nails and jewelry. She didn't look like that anymore. And she didn't want anybody to her house anymore. She didn't want any more visitors because she didn't look, in her mind, the same. She might have looked beautiful to Jessy, but Lynn didn't think she looked beautiful to other people. And you're gonna hear her neighbor testify to that. Her name is Jean Tennell, that Lynn became hidden in her home. She was depressed. Next slide, please. This is a side around, you can see it, but it basically proves that Lynn was the cyclobenzaprine. She asked, the doctor took her off of it in the beginning of January 2018. So she shouldn't even have had it in her system in October. She stopped taking it in 2018. And the next slide will be baclofen. She stopped taking it in March of 2018. She shouldn't even have had it in her system in October of 2018. Why would she take it if she stopped taking it at the beginning of the year? In such volumes, the baclofen. She's only supposed to take one a day. She had 10 to 15 in her system. Like cyclobenzaprine, why would she take it? She told that she stopped taking it because she wants to kill herself. She wants to die. She doesn't like life. Doesn't make sense to them, but shooting yourself with a gun doesn't make sense to me. Jumping off a building doesn't make sense to me. Stepping in front of a moving train doesn't make sense to me. Suicide doesn't make sense to us who like living, but for somebody who's depressed and tired, why do you want to take their life? I have no idea. But Lynn did for some reason on October 3rd, 2018. Why does she have 25 to 30 pills in her system? And they don't think that's a suicide? That must have been the tetrahydrozoline. Next slide, please. They talk about eye drops, and every time Lynn went to the doctor, every time since 2017 and 18, she went to the doctor a lot of times. Pain management, Aurora, Waukesha. She always complained about her eyes. She had to take eye drops. Every single time you'll see it on her lab or after medical report, eye drops, complaint of eye drops, pain in my eyes. And they didn't understand why she was always buying Visine. She was drinking it and using it. She needed eye drops. According to the hospital records, it's not something Jessy made up. It's in the hospital records. You'll see Aurora, pain management, Waukesha, eye drops, complaining about pain in her eyes. Next slide, please. The medical examiner said tetrahydrozoline was what killed her. And she was also using these other baclofen. She wasn't using them. She shouldn't have had baclofen in her system again. She shouldn't have had these drugs, these other drugs. They're basically saying she took these voluntarily, these other 25 to 30 pills. She took those voluntarily, along with the alcohol. But the tetrahydrozoline, no, she didn't take that voluntarily. That doesn't even make sense. You're saying she took 25 to 30 pills voluntarily? Again, 2 of them that she shouldn't have had in her system, but the Visine did it? Next slide, please. Again, these are all her prescription pills that we found that were found on the scene. That's just one of two pages that were found at the scene. Next slide. Also, it doesn't make sense. They're saying that Jessy set this up. Remember when officers arrived on the scene? Do you think this was a suicide? Do you think Jessy would be jumping up and down? This is definitely a suicide. Yes. You know what she said? She goes, I don't know. I don't think so. She said, well, I don't know. You don't want to think the worst, but she would have been saying, yeah, for sure. She did. It was a suicide. But Jessy was being honest. I don't know. And you think if she would have set it up, and according to them, the Visine is in that water bottle, why would she leave it there at the scene with her fingerprints all over it? You know, it's like shooting somebody with a gun and then leaving the gun on the scene and running away so they can find the gun and your fingerprints on it. Why in the world would she leave the bottle of Visine right there so people can find it with her fingerprints on it? If that was actually what killed her. Next slide, please. I want to touch a little bit about the finances, and they're going to mention about these checks, and you're going to hear, and I'm going to, with their witnesses, tell you that Lynn went to the bank a lot of times. When all this was going on, and her checks were being used, checks were being given to Jessy, her charge cards were being used by Lynn and Jessy. Lynn was always at the bank. She would make deposits, withdrawals. You're going to see them. Lynn would go personally to the bank and go to and do these transactions. You don't think the tellers are telling her about her account, the balances on her account? You don't think she's asking for, like, can I have a balance on my account? That's what happens at a bank. You do a withdrawal or a deposit, you get a balance. Like Lynn is now aware that Jesse's stealing this money, and they were so sure that that these checks were forged by Lynn. They were so sure at the beginning of this case. And Jessy kept telling him, I didn't forge them. Lynn gave them to me. Lynn gave me this money. That he didn't mention, we sent the checks to the FBI to see who wrote those checks. Did he say that? Jessy said, send them to the FBI. I didn't write them. Whatever they say. You know what the FBI said? The analyst? Lynn wrote them. Jessy didn't write them. Didn't write any of those checks. Did he mention that in his opening? I don't think so.
I object to that line. That's not what the FBI report says.
We'll see.
Move on.
And you're going to see also through their documents that they gave us that Lynn applied for a loan in 2018 February for a $30,000 loan or $35,000 at BMO Harris Bank. Why would she apply for a $30,000 loan if she thought she had all this?
I'm having difficulties. Hold on.
Suicide that Lynn committed or being charged with money that Lynn gave to her?
Sorry. I tried to refresh the wrong screen because I've been working on the Visine emoji to make a better one. I apologize.
Jesse's innocent. You know, when he talked about that the people from probate said, we never seen this will like this. You know what the medical examiner is gonna tell you? I've never seen tetrahydrozoline before either. This is my first time ever. This is when she gets up there and testifies, she goes, I've never, ever seen tetrahydrozoline. I had to research it and talk to people and read literature about it from the experts. And one of those experts is named Henry Speller, leading expert in the world on tetrahydrozoline poisoning. And you're going to hear from him. We're going to bring him in. Literature that the medical examiner read. And you're going to hear from Mr. Speller about tetrahydrozoline poisoning. She's innocent. Find her not guilty.
Thank you, Attorney Galavis. I think it'll be a great time just to have a afternoon break and
I mean, wow. Was that weak or what? I thought it was weak. All right, we're going to go now to the first witness, and this is the awesome detective.
when you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Sure. First name is Timothy, Timothy. Last name Loberg, Loberg.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Detective Loberg, how are you employed?
I'm a detective with the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department.
And how long have you been employed in that capacity?
12 years.
In total, what is your law enforcement experience?
Well, I started off in the patrol division, later moved on to a field training officer, and then went to the detective bureau.
To become a law enforcement officer and then detective, did you have to undergo training?
I did.
Could you please explain to the jury that training?
Sure. I went to the Milwaukee Area Technical College and attended an associate degree program, which at the time was referred to as Police Science Criminal Justice. Excuse me. Subsequent to that, I then attended a state of Wisconsin Law Enforcement Standards Board Academy, which then certified me to be a police officer in Wisconsin.
Did you have to undergo further training to become a detective?
I did.
Could you please explain that to the jury?
Sure. So then after being in the patrol division, I then attended numerous specialty trainings as well as on-the-job training in order to obtain the skill set that's necessary in the detective role.
As part of being a detective, are you dispatched to death scenes?
Yes.
Over the course of your 12 years as being a detective, could you approximate how many times you've gone out to a death scene?
Best I could say is likely hundreds.
Okay. And what is the normal procedure as a detective for processing a death scene?
Typically, my responsibilities would be an overall observation of that scene, firstly, to try to attempt to understand or determine what exactly occurred with this death investigation. If there's anything obviously present as to what could likely be a cause of death, that would be considered evidence. And at that point, we would determine what items are of evidentiary value and typically collect those. Other responsibilities would be taking photographs of the scene and the overall area, as well as interviews and whatever is deemed necessary at that point.
All right. Were you on duty on October 3rd, 2018?
Yes.
On that date, were you dispatched to a death scene in the city of Pewaukee?
Yes.
Approximately what time did you arrive on scene?
I don't recall specifically.
Okay. So if it would have been afternoon, evening time, would that sound correct?
I think it's the state. I think it's Wisconsin that they do this. I always think it's strange that the attorneys are sitting down. But I feel like it was the same in Darrell Brooks' trial. But that was probably because he was shackled. But it's interesting to me.
Yes, I worked second shift at that time.
Okay. What did you do when you got dispatched to that address?
The first thing I did was make contact with Deputy Rosenberger, and I gathered brief information as to what he knew at that time. Typically, meeting with that patrol officer, that's going to help determine what areas might need to be focused on or what priorities there may be at that particular time. I learned at that time that there were interviews being conducted. And so I then began just an overall observation of exactly what was going on at that scene.
What did you do next then?
So then I walked around the exterior of the residence, first attempting to locate if there was any signs of forced entry or a struggle or anything, again, anything that would be an obvious possible contributing factor or cause of death in this death investigation. I'm certainly not trained or qualified, to be clear, to determine a cause of death, but I'm just looking for something that may overall, any criminal element that may have played a part there. And so after walking around the exterior of the residence and not observing anything obvious, I then did the same walking around the interior of the residence and also photographing common areas of that residence as well as the decedent.
When you made contact with the decedent, was it clear that she had been deceased at that point?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay. And you said you had walked around the residence. Did you take pictures of the residence?
I did.
Okay. Did you review those pictures before court today?
I did.
Okay. We're going to put on the screen for you here shortly exhibits 23 through 32. And April's going to click through them. I just want you to review those to yourself, and then when you're done, let me know.
Okay.
They're not up on his screen yet. It takes. There you go. Really? Can you make sure that all cords are?
Doesn't look like it's on the state screen either.
Correct. Oh,
Well,
no, it is.
Did it?
I turned my monitor off and turned it back on, and that seemed to have helped on the right side there in the school.
Make it so. There it is. Got it.
Excellent. I was like, I almost needed to call Zach. Very good. Go ahead. They are on, I can see my preview and the detective's preview.
Detective, did you have a chance to review all of the exhibits 23 through 32?
Yes.
And are those pictures that you took of the residents as well as the decedent,
Yes.
are those true and accurate copies of those photos?
Yes.
Now, I believe exhibit 29 has already been moved into evidence, but I'd be moving the remainder of 23 through 32 into evidence.
Any
No
objection? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Exhibits 23 through 32 are received, noting that 29 was received previously.
Before we get to showing the inside of the residence to the jury, can you just kind of describe the layout of the residence?
Sure. I recall it being a single floor condominium style layout, fairly open floor plan with a separate bedroom, bathroom, and an attached garage.
And we had talked about the deceased at that time, but did you ultimately identify her as Lynn Hernan?
Yes.
As part of your investigation and you going around the residence and then further taking photos, did you observe pill bottles in the residence?
I did.
As well as did you observe medications?
Correct.
Did you observe crushed medication as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you observe any computers in the residence?
Not that I recall.
Would that be something that would have been noted either in your report or taken a picture of?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Do you recall if there were any pets in the residence?
I remember there was a cat.
And you said, if you had to guess, you've been to hundreds of death scenes over the course of your time as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Correct.
And have you been to scenes where it's been a presumed suicide?
Yes.
Okay. Based on your training and experience as a detective at these death scenes, have you ever observed a presumed suicide to have crushed pills on their chest?
No.
When you walked through the residence, did you go to the bedroom of the residence?
Yes.
Did you take any pictures of that?
No.
Why were there no photos taken of the bedroom?
Well, at the time, I guess, now certainly would have been nice to have more photos knowing what we know now. But at that time, having a presumed suicide and no apparent criminal element or violation of state statute that we observed, I did not see anything in the bedroom that appeared to be of evidentiary value. And so my focus at that point was the decedent and the immediate area around the decedent.
Your Honor, I'd be asking for permission to publish Exhibit 23 to the jury.
No objection.
Permission to publish, do you want permission for any of the exhibits from 23 to 32?
Just 23 at this time.
Okay, go ahead. Remember, there's a delay. Thank you. Lots of thumbs up.
All right, Detective, in Exhibit 23, what are we looking at here?
That will be the main entrance or front, I guess you could call, of the residence, and the glass doorway on the left is the entry to Miss Hernan's residence.
On the left side of Exhibit 23, we see some officers.
Correct.
Can you describe what's going on there?
So they are conducting an interview of a party who they later identified to me as Jessy Kurczewski.
Okay. Can you just describe to the jury what it appears Ms. Kurczewski is actually wearing in that photo?
Looks like some sort of medical attire, or what's commonly referred to as scrubs.
After you took photos on the scene, what was your role in this investigation?
Once I confirmed that Mr. Kurczewski had already been interviewed and there was nobody else at that point that needed to be interviewed, I resumed my normal duties.
Okay. At some point after this date, October 3rd, 2018, did you have further role in this investigation regarding Lynn Hernan's death?
I did.
Ultimately, did you send subpoenas to financial institutions and other institutions in investigation?
I did.
Was that ultimately handed off to Detective Plennis in your same department?
Yes.
Okay. At some point in this investigation, is the reason why did the sheriff's department here start sending out those subpoenas?
There was information received. Well, firstly, there was a determination that this was not a suicide per the medical examiner. We were informed of that.
Okay. So this transition from a potential suicide to a homicide investigation.
Objection, lady.
Sustained as to the form of the question, please rephrase.
So the information that you received from the medical examiner,
Judge, you're asking for hearsay now.
Well, let him get the question out, so overrule.
you received information from the medical examiner. Did that cause the sheriff's office to change their investigation?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Overrule.
Yes,
And what did that investigation turn into?
a homicide investigation.
Thank you, Detective. I don't have any other questions.
Cross.
Thank you, Judge. Detective, thank you for being here. This happened about 5 years ago, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, your memory's not great, would you say?
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, you met with the prosecutors here, correct, sitting here to my left to review your testimony?
Yes.
They showed you exhibits, correct?
Yes.
They showed you your police reports?
Yes.
Other than that, you have no memory of this?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's a very unique case
And why is that?
because I have not been to a suicide that, well, I should say I haven't been to what was ruled as a homicide that first appeared to be the way that it did at that scene.
So when you first got on the scene, it just appeared to be a suicide, correct?
It did.
And you didn't have any second thoughts about that when you got on the scene, correct?
No.
And you indicated that you have responded to hundreds of deaths, correct?
I would estimate that.
So there's a lot of crime in Waukesha, is that what you're saying?
No,
How many of those were criminal?
it would be hard for me to say. I mean, there was a portion of time as my duties as a detective where I, for example, did or assisted with crash investigations, which ultimately were fatal crashes and whatnot. So they weren't all criminal.
Well, as of 2018, how many were criminal?
I couldn't say.
Less than 5?
I would literally have to speculate, sir. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not.
I don't want you to do that.
I apologize. I'm not certain. I'm really not.
So not enough that you can remember, correct?
Correct.
And you've responded to overdoses, correct?
Yes.
Probably a lot, correct?
Yes.
Especially with the pandemic of fentanyl and fake Percocet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And a lot of those kind of cases have crushed pills, correct?
Not from what I've seen.
What have you seen
Excuse me.
regarding crushed fentanyl?
Well, I have typically seen at most of the scenes, I've typically seen syringes and paraphernalia different than, such as in this case where there's a plate with numerous what appear to be crushed pills on it.
So in the cases where you've seen syringes, the syringes were still on the scene?
Typically, yes.
Were there syringes with tourniquets?
At times.
Were they still on the scene?
At times.
Were they usually around the body?
Yes.
That's typical where the paraphernalia for the way describing the tourniquet and the syringe are usually near the body, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you, according to your reports, you arrived on the scene at 5:20. You wouldn't argue with that, would you?
No.
And it's 5:20 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you arrived on the scene, those other deputies depicted in exhibit number 23 were on the scene already?
Yeah, I agree. This doesn't look like the detective from the interrogations. So I'll be back. Let me do a little research.
Yes, sir.
And they all were talking with Jessy, correct?
Correct.
Did you speak with her at all?
Not that I recall.
And those deputies on the scene, who were they?
I recall Deputy Rosenberger and Mitch and Jacoby.
And did they speak with anybody else in that neighborhood?
Not that I'm aware of.
They didn't speak with any neighbors, as far as you know?
I'm not certain if they did or not.
Your job was mainly to take photographs?
Correct.
And you took photographs of things you thought were relevant?
More so of the overall residence interior and exterior.
So you weren't taking pictures or photographs of things you thought were relevant, just flashing pictures in different rooms of whatever you saw?
Well, I would say the entire interior of the residence where the decedent is relevant. I mean, that's where the person's located. I would say as far as the exterior photos, the relevancy I see there is that there's documentation that there's no signs of forced entry or a struggle or anything that could be an obvious contributing factor of death at that point.
Well, you arrived on the scene. That the deputies tell you that there could have been forced entry?
No.
They told you it was a suicide, correct?
I believe at the time they told me they suspected that it was, yes, and that the fire department had pronounced the patient deceased, and that was really my extent of the conversation with them.
I didn't see fire department personnel depicted in exhibit number 23. They already left?
From what I recall, yes.
I'm going to show you some defense exhibits. And just want you to identify them first. I'm sorry, ma'am. It's 543, exhibit 543, page 1.
It's already been received. Yeah, I see a black screen. He's working on it. Do you have defense computer? Okay. That will help tremendously.
Yeah.
You could have done that.
I believe at the time I was informed that that was Ms. Kurczewski's.
And this is exhibit number 24. Again, you took this photograph?
Yes, sir.
And in that photograph, you're standing where in the residence?
Just inside of the main entryway.
And it depicts the kitchen in the far end, correct?
Yes.
Did you search that area at all yourself?
I'm sorry.
Did you search that area at all?
Search the kitchen?
Correct.
No.
Do you know if any of the deputies on scene searched that area?
No.
There was no need to search it?
In my opinion, at that time, there was not. I mean, I conducted a plain view search of the main area, but not further search.
In that exhibit where I'm pointing to, that's a garbage can, correct?
Looks like it, yes.
Did you look in the garbage can at all?
No,
Do you know if any of the deputies on scene looked in there?
I do not know.
It was testified before by the deputy medical examiner that there was
Your Honor, your side.
what's already been testified to
You
yesterday.
can ask the question overruled. As long as he accurately states what the testimony was.
The deputy medical examiner yesterday, Ms. Kukas, indicated there was alcohol in that garbage can. Did she tell you that there was alcohol in that garbage can?
I don't remember meeting with the deputy medical examiner at all. I believe I was gone prior to her arrival.
Did you at all, or any of the deputies at all, search the kitchen area for like documents?
When you say search, are you referring to like drawers and things? I'm sorry, to what extent search are you asking for?
Well, look on the counter, look through the kitchen shelves, the drawers.
There was excuse me, there was certainly a visual search. Any plain view search was conducted.
You didn't open drawers and things like that, did you?
No.
You didn't search that area for like eye drops or anything like that, did you?
No,
Were you told to look for eye drops?
no,
You told to look for Visine bottles?
no.
Sidebar Snoop, hysterical. Anyone else keep their house clean because pics might end up on law and crime? I'm gonna tell you, I've thought about this. I have a habit when I get clothes out of the dryer, I throw them on our kitchen table to fold them. And I mean, there is times, I'm just gonna say that maybe a few days there are, t-shirts and underwear sitting there, and I think, oh my God, what if this was like a crime scene? Everyone would see my undies.
We talked about this earlier with the showing of exhibits. I just want to bring that to the defense's attention.
Is there any that have not been received? Sorry, I was looking at something else.
I think the last time there was, I just want to make sure that we follow the procedure that was talked about.
If I need a sidebar, let me know, but I think so far we've been okay.
Well, I'm showing you is exhibit number 25. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes,
Is that a photograph that you took?
yes.
And what does exhibit number 25 depict?
The decedent and the surrounding area.
I guess they're not going to show us that, which is fine with me.
And the decedent was identified as Lynn Hernan,
Yes, sir.
correct? And were you told on the scene what relationship she was to the person depicted in exhibit number 23, Jessy?
I believe one of the deputies mentioned that they learned that Ms. Kurczewski was a caretaker for Ms. Hernan, and that's why she was on the scene.
And depicted to the right of Ms. Hernan, but to the left of the people viewing the photograph, items to her right or what? Did you find?
Pill bottles?
These here are the pill bottles?
Yes, sir.
What's this depicted on the scene?
Appears to be a water bottle.
Do you know if that water bottle was full or empty?
I do not know.
Did you at all examine that water bottle?
No,
Did you open up and smell inside of it?
no.
Over to Ms. Kurczewski's.
And sidebar Snoop, to add to that, you said our mom's telling us to wear clean underwear because we might be in a car accident. And for some reason, we always had to have clean, brand new underwear for our annual pediatrician visit. And we had our fingernails trimmed. I don't know why. I think about that. I'm like, and we also all had to have very nice outfits for the airplane.
So just like it over to Ms. Hernan's left, and people looking at the photograph, our right, what are the things on the table?
Appears to be a TV remote, ashtray with a cigarette. There's some pill bottles, another bottle. I'm not certain what's in there, and then a roll of toilet paper. And some paperwork, documents as well.
You see this item here behind the pill bottles?
Yes, sir.
That appears to be a bottle of eye drops.
I have no idea what that is.
There seems to be a love seat directly in front of Miss Hernan to her left. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
And there appears to be stuff stuffed under there, correct?
Yeah.
Did you look under there to see what was under there?
No.
Did you look, so you didn't look at all under there?
No.
Do you know if any of the deputies did?
No.
I mean, these prosecutors try so hard. Like, did you look under the love seat? Hey, Miss Puffles, it's the cutest freaking name. And Sidebar Snoop, cute names. Hey, Allison.
Over to the right of Miss Hernan by her legs are documents, correct?
Yes.
Did you go through those documents?
I viewed the document that was facing outermost document, I should say. Outermost document, I did, yes.
You didn't go page through those, did you?
No,
Did any deputies page through those?
don't know.
Had there been items in their information on their writing pad?
Yes.
So you did find stuff in there on writing pads.
Right in the front, yes. Immediately in the front.
Did you look further into those documents to see if there was more things written on writing pads?
I don't remember going through the entire stack. I remember viewing a couple of things in the front and photographing a few, and that was it.
Ultimately, did you find any identification information to Ms. Hernan?
Yes.
Where did you find that?
I believe that was on the paperwork that is to her right or our left. Excuse me, there were numerous documents in there that had her name on it.
Did you find any like wallet or purse or driver's license?
I don't recall specifically.
Did you at all? So in that area, you didn't remember finding her purse or wallet?
I don't recall specifically, no.
Do you remember searching the bedroom and finding her purse in the bedroom?
I remember going into the bedroom to view it. I don't recall specifically what was in there, sir.
Eventually, you took a photo of Miss Hernan's driver's license, correct?
Yes.
Where did you find that?
I don't recall. I don't know if a deputy gave it to me. I'm not certain.
Her screen went black.
Yep, I turned it off because the testimony was not about that photograph anymore. I'll keep the up for you all, so if you need to see what you're doing, but.
I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 26.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated.
I decided to move on to the medical examiner. Y'all, some of the cutest merch arrived this weekend. I've ordered so much, I don't even know what I've ordered. But it was the juror in the wild. You know how the judge in the Richens case would say, "You're going to be in the wild," and it's got pink, I think, cheetahs on it. Christina, it's so cute. It's freaking adorable, and I'm going to take photos of things. I'm drinking out of one of my mugs now, but such cute stuff, and I'm really eager for my food truck shirt to arrive.
Good
Good morning, doctor. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Linda Biedrzycki, Lyndabidrzcki.
Dr. Bedrisky, where do you work?
At the Waukesha County Medical Examiner's Office.
In fact, are you the head of that office?
Yes.
Could you explain to the jury what it means to be the head of the Waukesha County Medical Examiner's Office, please?
Okay. Medical examiners and coroners are a statutory position in the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, sidebar Snoop, that's very nice. I don't know that I would say I'm fighting a lawyer. I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just doing what I'm legally allowed to do. So I'm not fighting a lawyer. Just want to make that clear. But thank you very much.
And they're by county. And our job is to investigate deaths as defined by statute, which is basically any unnatural death or any death that's unexplained. That would include accidents, homicides, suicides, or deaths is again unexplained. We don't know which category they may fall into. And we investigate those deaths and may include performing an autopsy and laboratory studies to help with that investigation and certify those deaths. So that's our statutory responsibility. I am the head of the office.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I think the best thing that any of us can do, just really quickly, I'm glad you remember, whenever these trolls pop in or whatever, let's just ignore it and ban them and move on. No attention, because a lot of times that's what they're going for. But it's not so much the people in the chat, it's the people that are just watching. And I think one thing we learned is that they're always watching. I mean, Mia was quoted in someone's cease and desist letter from what she wrote in a comment. So y'all just be mindful.
So I'm the administrator, but I'm also a forensic pathologist and I perform the autopsies.
Would it be fair to say that you are an arm of law enforcement?
No.
Okay. Could you please clarify that for the jury?
I'm a physician. I practice medicine. And the kind of medicine I practice has to do with the identification of causes of death and unnatural death. That's my training and background. I have no law enforcement training at all. And I do work with law enforcement. I also work with public health. I work with people who have an interest in understanding cause of death. But I don't work for the advocacy system, the law enforcement system.
So that would include the DA's office. You're not an arm of the DA's office either.
No.
Would it be fair to say that you're a totally independent department in the county?
Yes.
Does that mean that you have to, as an administrator, handle things like the budget for the department?
Yes. Budget, personnel, those kind of things.
Okay. Based on your role, does that mean that you're often assisting many different types of parties in understanding a cause of death determination you've made?
Yes.
Does that sometimes include law enforcement?
Yes.
Does it sometimes include attorneys from the DA's office?
Yes.
Does it sometimes include defense attorneys?
Yes.
Okay. I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 33, and it's going to appear before you on your screen. And Madam Clerk, we are all set. And I'm going to have our paralegal, April, just scroll through that multi-page document. And I just want you to take a look at it.
Excellent point, Mia. Before banning and blocking a troll, please first screenshot their handle and send to me. I've noticed a pattern very specific to the Adelson 4 supporting trolls. That's very important. So please screenshot that, okay? Also, I want to read this. This is, there are these companies that are called Online Reputation Management. And quote, they conduct advanced online surveillance to monitor mentions and discussions related to you. This vigilant, and I'm pretty sure that's a term we've seen with some of these people, monitoring ensures that you're always well informed about the current state of your online reputation. Their strategies go beyond the surface. Okay? I want y'all to think about that. So sometimes when you see different spellings and things, there's reasons.
Okay.
Is that exhibit 33 7 pages?
I don't remember the number of pages.
Okay. And if I can refer you actually on this screen,
I see 7.
Also, you know the saying, keep your friends close, your enemies closer? A lot of these people are posing as subs and members as well, and I'm very aware. Don't think I don't have professional guidance either.
okay. What is exhibit 33?
It's my curriculum vitae.
Is that a current version of it?
Yes.
Was what you saw on the screen a fair and accurate copy of your curriculum vitae?
Yes.
I'd move exhibit 33 into evidence, ask for permission to publish.
Any objection?
None.
Exhibit 33's received permission to publish is granted.
All right, one more thing, just because some people are listening. Mia says to Leanne, you're exactly right. They thrive on reaction and engagement if ignored and blocked. They gain little benefit. There is a troll, not an Adelson supporter, but F's with the community. So just keep all that in mind, okay? But yeah, take your pictures, keep your information, share with Mia. Don't engage and block them. You can also click on their profile picture and you can read about their account. And if it's like a blurry picture or it really has no info, that's a good clue. There's also spoof accounts that look like they were created a long time ago. There's a lot that can be done.
So Dr. Budritsky, I just want to make sure that the jury can kind of tell where we're looking. So on the screen along the right column, is it true that there's actually a page count?
Yes.
Okay, and so right now, does it show that we're on page 107?
Yes.
And if Ms. Vulcanier could please scroll to the bottom of page 1, I'd like you to point out if there's an exhibit sticker on this.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's the same exhibit 33 that you just looked at?
Yes.
Okay, so if we could scroll back up to the top, please. Dr. Budritsky, why did you prepare a document like this?
People sometimes want to know what your background and training is. And so typically physicians have a CV and it's shown to people who want to know.
Okay. Is it fair to say that it's a compilation of a lot of different kinds of information?
Basically my professional information. It's not a personal document. It has to do with my training, my prior employment,
Just one more thing while we're on the topic. People get freaked out when people are close to truths. People get freaked out when children are no longer children, when they can find things and friends can find things. And people get really freaked out with FOIA, and there's a lot that you can find out. So I'm just saying.
professional activities, any research that I did, that kind of thing.
And you already indicated to the jury that you're a medical doctor, right?
Correct.
And a pathologist.
Yes.
Whimsical Libra asked, do we really think the sudden increase in trolls could be related to an imminent arrest? Hopeful. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but it is not a coincidence.
Could you please talk to the jury about your education in order to take those positions?
Okay. So I have a degree in biology from Marquette, and then I went to medical school at the Medical College of Wisconsin. After that, I did an internship in internal medicine at the University of Illinois in Chicago. And then I went and did 2 years of pathology training in both anatomic and clinical pathology at the Medical College of Wisconsin. I then went to the University of California in San Diego for more anatomic pathology training. Then I did a forensic pathology fellowship at the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office in Detroit. And I finished my clinical pathology training at William Beaumont Hospital. So those were 5 years of pathology training to cover the necessary training to qualify to take boards in 3 areas of pathology: anatomic, clinical, and forensic. After I practiced forensic pathology for a while, I went and did a second fellowship in cardiac pathology. So that covers all my training.
And maybe let's back up for a moment. Could you please tell the jury what is pathology?
Pathology is the study of disease. And so that covers pretty much everything. Covers all kinds of things that happen to the human body, from infections to cancer. And in forensic, now we're adding injury.
Okay. How long ago was that 5 years of pathology training that you just testified about?
I finished all my training except for the cardiac part in 1986.
Have you been working in the field of pathology since that time?
Yes.
Could you please, and Ms. DeValcanier, if we could scroll to the middle and bottom of page 1, Dr. Budritsky, could you please talk to the jury about your certifications after that period of training in pathology, please?
So it says I'm certified by the American Board of Pathology in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology. So that's the national certification agency for doctors. I mean, there's an American Board of Medicine, an American Board of Surgery, and there's an American Board of Pathology. So that's the board that I'm certified by, and I'm certified by demonstrating adequate training, like I have to in the applications.
One more thing before I go get my second latte and my mug that Christina beautifully designed. If you were not in the live last night, we missed you. Second of all, it's on replay. And also, we listened to the June Chunda interview with FBI agent Pat Sanford and Tallahassee investigator Sherry Bennett. It's a little over an hour. I also posted it without the commentary from the live as well. I encourage you all to listen. It is not defamatory to just share information that is publicly available.
It says, how many autopsies did you do, and how many clinical chemistry tests did you do, and did you spend enough time doing this, that, and the other thing? You have to qualify, and then you take the exams in those 3 areas.
And at the bottom of page 1, fair to say that that outlines all of the experience in pathology you had since that time?
No, I think it goes to the next page.
Oh, okay. But at least it's the beginning, at least.
Professional experience. Let's see. I don't know how to explain this. I'm not sure the CV is the easiest way to explain it. I mean, my first job was in Pontiac, Michigan at the Oakland County Medical Examiner's Office. Then I came to Waukesha in 1990, and I spent 3 years here as the medical examiner. At that time, I moved to Boston to do my cardiac pathology fellowship. Well, after my fellowship, I was on staff at the hospital at Brigham and Women's, and I also worked at the medical examiner's office in Boston. So I did both of those things. I came back to this area, my family is here, and worked at the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office. And then I came back to the position I have now in 1998. So I was continually employed, but I went to a...
One more reminder from Mia. Just please screenshot the handle before banning them. It's very helpful. Thank you. Agree. And I'll do a short video on this today as well. And y'all can all hype it. Hype, hype, hype. It costs you nothing.
few places.
And I did a short video on how to do that.
Have you been the head of the medical examiner's office here in Waukesha since 1998?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do any teaching, doctor?
Yes.
And have you throughout your history as a pathologist?
Yes, a lot of teaching. Most of the places that I have been employed at, there was either teaching, almost always, of law enforcement and community training. I was a professor. I'm an adjunct professor at the medical college now, and I train residents and fellows. I was a full faculty member both at Harvard and when I was in Boston and at the medical college when I worked in Milwaukee.
The next page. Could you tell the jury what this page of your curriculum vitae is capturing and why it's important?
These are the professional activities I've engaged in, and part of it is to maintain knowledge in your field. You work with your co-professionals nationally so that you know what's going on and try to contribute nationally to improve your field. So I belong to general pathology organizations, which are the American Society of Clinical Pathologists and the College of American Pathologists. All pathologists can belong to those organizations, and the United States and Canadian Academy of Pathologists. Then I belong to forensic organizations, which include the National Association of Medical Examiners and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences. I also belong to the State Coroners and Medical Examiners Association, and I also belong to the AMA, the American Medical Association.
In your field, is it important that you keep current on research and developments in the field?
Well, continuing education is critical for all physicians because knowledge advances. And yes, so it's true in forensics as well.
Is it important, and I think that you mentioned it when you were talking about these positions, that you consult with other doctors in your field or even professionals in other fields that are relevant to your work?
Right, yes. I mean, there's a lot of ongoing discussion with your colleagues. You know, how did you do this? Can you help me with that? So forth and so on.
Doctor, I next want to talk to you about what's actually on the next page of this exhibit, page 4, in terms of have you ever written anything that's been published?
Well, this particular page is more to do with other activities, such as I did 2 presentations in the last couple of years on a national level. And it includes my other memberships and speaking award. But I have published as well.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit. That's further down, isn't it? So in terms of the page that we're looking at, could you tell the jury a little bit about that most recent presentation that you gave?
Just this in June of this year, I did a webinar, national or maybe internationally provided webinar called The Poison Patient, Poison in the Pathologist, Challenges in Delayed Death.
Do you know about how many other doctors viewed that training?
I was told that over 1,000 registered.
Okay. And what about the one listed there in 2022? What was that?
This was a talk I was asked to give on challenges in the identification and certification of novel synthetic opioids in death investigations, the Midwest experience. I did that at the toxicology workshop at the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
Okay. And Ms. DeValcanier, if we could just slowly scroll down. I think, Doctor, you've already talked about your teaching. So we'll scroll through that. Sorry, scroll up a little bit to mid-page 5. Dr. Budrowski, is there anything on this page that jumps out you think relevant for this case that you'd like to talk to the jury about?
Well, it includes things I may have mentioned that I instructed at the Medical College of Wisconsin, that I lectured for Police Academy when I was in Michigan, that I taught at the Harvard School of Public Health and Harvard Medical School when I was working in Boston.
Okay, and if we could continue down, please. Now, page 6 of Exhibit 33 is actually the part that I jumped ahead to, right? This is a big bibliography part. What does this capture for the jury?
Well, these are articles that I published, book chapters that I wrote or assisted in writing, and abstracts, which are basically like short versions of papers that aren't a complete paper that I wrote on various topics.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about.
Well, sidebar Snoop, I would love it if it was May, Because that's my birthday month.
The process of being published as a doctor. Is that a fairly simple thing to get done?
No, I mean, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I know this is like literally sidebarring from this trial, but I don't really care. Kristen and Mia, yeah, June was telling the cops in 2018 how unhinged and worried Charlie was becoming before arrest. Correct. And he wasn't arrested until 2022. So for 4 years, he must have lived. I can't imagine. I mean, just the few months she explained of how horrific it was and his enraging anger. It is a living hell. And I know we'd all rather have people locked up, but it is a living hell wondering and waiting.
You have to be peer reviewed, submit to a journal. I would say time is a constraint, at least for me.
Explain that to the jury, please.
I find that actually doing my job takes all of my time. Working to publish papers, it is important because it's important to share things that might be helpful to other people, but it takes a lot of time.
Bingo, John. This is what a lot of people say. If y'all remember back around the holidays when I interviewed Justin Happerney, he had served time in federal prison for white collar crime stuff. But he talked about that, what it's like when you know they're watching and it's pure hell. And when you finally like just go and serve your time, it's a relief because it's like it's done. And John says Charlie was falling apart. Maybe in a way he was glad when it was all over. Mm-hmm.
One paper the second one on here that
Emily.
I worked with Dr. Dupre,
Ann.
who's works at Carroll College. We looked at hundreds of cases of deaths to look at what commonalities existed in people who died of falls. I mean, crunching that data, it took, years actually to do that. Other cases are case reports. I did, the top one is a case report because there was an injury from a resuscitation device. And I called the emergency doctors that were supervising the EMTs. And I said, hey, this happened. You should know that this can be a complication. And he said, that has never been published before. We should publish it. I went like, if you do at least most of the work, I can do that. But, it takes time.
Okay. As opposed to working on research and publishing articles, what does a typical day for you in your job look like?
It's mainly doing autopsies and working on investigations of deaths, supervising the investigative staff, reading the reports of the cases that they investigated and doing the autopsies, and then the follow-up for those autopsies, which includes reviewing the medical records, the police reports, the laboratory data, filling out the paperwork for the death certificates. One time I did a time study because it was requested by administration, and I can spend up to 30% of my total work hours doing administration. So there's that as well.
Okay. When you say supervising, I think that you called it the investigative team. Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Okay. Formerly, was Tabitha Kukis a part of that team?
Yes.
What was your role in terms of supervising her work and the other investigators' work?
Well, I set the standard for the scope of the investigation. There are requirements that they need to fulfill in every investigation in terms of my expectations. So, and anybody who works in my office, it's a long training period because it's a very high learning curve. So, primarily I set those expectations, what a good investigation consists of, and then on a daily basis, I review the cases that have been occurring. If they don't call me, sometimes I'm called and they say, I'm at a scene, what do you think? And so I might have input at that time. But, I, as the head of the office, I'm responsible for the work of the staff. And so that's what I mean.
When you talk about scenes, does that only include homicide scenes?
No.
Could you remind the jury when you're called for assistance, when your office is called for assistance?
Any death that's outside of a facility requires a call to our office. and usually a response, although sometimes we are not responding at this time. After COVID, we had to change our response because I don't have enough staff. So if a case looks natural and I have enough information about the scene from phone information from people at the scene, my staff may not respond, but otherwise they responded to everybody who died outside of a facility all the time. And most of those are not homicides.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this. Is it possible for you personally to go to all those scenes?
No.
Okay. What, could you give the jury some idea of the numbers of scenes we're talking about? Per year, per week, or something that would be helpful?
No, it would be per year because I look at these stats for budget purposes. So, but I'm going to have to round them. It's probably around high 200s to 300 scenes pre-COVID. It jumped by about 100 to 150 scenes more. Now I think we're up to 400 to 500 scenes annually. Okay.
Is that investigative team important in order for you to be able to do the work you need to do?
All right, I'm just going to pause this for a second because I want to read y'all something else. If that's okay. I think everybody in this chat is also a follower of the Dan Markel Seeking Justice. So this is from the ABA Journal. This is dated September 9th, 2016. So keep in mind, Sigfredo was arrested May 25th, 2016. McBanawa was arrested October 1st, 2016. So the bump was what, April of 16? Is that right? We saw before I got the copyright strike last night that prosecutors tried to get arrest warrants, or let me say this, Tallahassee police wanted arrest warrants, probable cause affidavits for Charlie and Donna Adelson, and they were denied that, okay? And there's been a lot of speculation as to why. So Willie Meggs at the time was the state attorney, and then I believe Jack Campbell became the state attorney maybe in 17. But I want to read you all this if you're okay with it. If you're not, I'm sorry. But okay. Prosecutor refused to arrest former brother-in-law of slain Professor Dan Markel. Okay. Again, this is in the American Bar Association Journal. Probable cause affidavits seeking the arrest of the former brother-in-law of slain law professor Dan Markel contained speculation, but lacked enough evidence to bring charges, according to the top prosecutor in the Florida Judicial Circuit. That includes Tallahassee. So keep in mind, this is 2016. So here we are 10 years later, and both of these people are serving life without parole and were convicted in under 3 hours. Keep that in mind. State Attorney Willie Meggs said he refused to issue a warrant for the arrest of former brother-in-law Charlie Adelson or his former girlfriend, Catherine McBanawa, whom police suspected was the conduit between Charlie Adelson and the hitman who carried out the murder of the Florida State University law professor in July 14. The Tallahassee Democrat has the story. Tax Prof blog links to additional coverage. Markel's ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, had told a Tallahassee police officer after Markel's murder that her brother had joked when he gave her a new TV that it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. She also said that Markel hadn't treated her very well when she was scared someone maybe did this, not because they hated Danny, but because this was good somehow. Later, however, she said she doesn't think anyone in her family would kill Markel. Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera had been charged in the murder. McBanawa had 2 children who were fathered by Garcia. The probable cause affidavit obtained by the Tallahassee Democrat on Thursday says Rivera and Garcia bought several cars and motorcycles after the murder, and McBanawa began getting paychecks from the Adelson family's dentistry practice. The checks were signed by Wendy Adelson's mother, Donna Adelson. McBanawa had previously worked at another dental office. It is investigators' belief, the affidavit says, that after her divorce from Markel, Wendy Adelson and her brother Charlie, as well as her parents, Harvey and Donna Adelson, were determined to relocate Wendy and the two Markel children to South Florida, where the Adelsons reside. After exhausting all efforts to force or compel Markel into agreeing to allow his ex-wife and children to relocate to South Florida, the subject family members previously identified realized any hope of a legal remedy in their favor was futile. Donna Adelson had suggested offering Markel $1 million to allow the children to move to South Florida, and had suggested that Wendy lie and tell Markel the children would be converted to Catholicism if he didn't allow them to move. According to the affidavit, when Wendy refused these tactics, the affidavit said Donna was extremely upset. Markel had filed a motion before his murder alleging Donna Adelson had told the children that Markel stupid and had said he was taking her sunshines away from her. The motion asked the judge to require that visitation with Donna Adelson be supervised. The affidavit also notes calls between McBanua and Charlie Adelson in the few weeks before the slaying, followed by phone calls between Charlie and Donna Adelson and phone calls between McBanua and Garcia. McBanua and Charlie Adelson had a phone contact 4 times in the hour before the murder, the affidavit said. There were also calls between Donna and Charlie Adelson in the minutes after the murder, followed by 2 calls between Charlie Adelson and McBanua. Garcia also called McBanua after the murder. And they're still saying not enough evidence at this time. The affidavit alleges there is sufficient evidence to prove the involvement of Charlie Adelson and McBanua in the murder. Willie Meggs, told the Tallahassee Democrat that he disagreed. My opinion after reading those documents is there is no probable cause here to make an arrest, Meggs said. We kind of believe they were involved according to the police, but what we believe and what we think doesn't count. What evidence do we have? Okay. Now, Willie Meggs has a friend, the Weinstein family, and their attorneys too. And I think Peter Weinstein is Wendy's godfather or something like that. Charlie Adelson's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, praised Meggs for his decision in an email to the Tallahassee Democrat. Mr. Meggs has spent the past 40 years as a prosecutor, with 30 years as a state attorney, and before that was a decorated police officer. He is one of the most experienced state attorneys in the nation, and he knows probable cause when he sees it, Marcus said. We are thankful that he faithfully and honorably fulfilled his duties and did not approve this document, which amounted to no more than simple speculation after a truly exhaustive investigation. The Adelson family previously released a statement denying involvement in the slaying. Any speculation as to the family's involvement is categorically false, the statement said. So all that to say, that's how things were going then, okay? Then Katie was arrested October 1st, and then when they cleared that audio right before Katie's second trial in 2022, they immediately got a grand jury to indict Charlie Adelson and so on. Okay, so there have been connections and some protection, but things have changed and are continuing to change. And I hope that is helpful. Back to our...
Yeah, I can't go to all the scenes. I'm the doctor, I do the autopsies. They can't do the autopsies, they go to the scenes. It's like I often view it as a relationship of a doctor and a nurse. They're the paraprofessionals that I'm responsible for, that but work under my direction, basically.
Fair to say they're kind of the eyes and ears for you in terms of the scene?
Absolutely.
Okay. But have you been to scenes before yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. In your experience, even just here in Waukesha since 1998, fair to say that you've seen and analyzed many, many death scenes?
Yes. Right now, our office, well, I don't know. I think of it in terms of death certificates signed because that's the ultimate responsibility. Our office signs something like 500.
Interesting, Mia. Would it be interesting if hired online reputation management trolls bots were to be reported and investigated by law enforcement? Imagine if that kind of information coming out. Yeah. I do believe these are hired by their attorneys, not them directly. So we may never see that as it would be protected. But 100%, that is what's going on.
Death certificates a year.
Okay. How many doctors or pathologists are working in your office?
One other full-time and one less than half-time.
Okay. So all of those death certificates are signed by one of the three of you, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a difference between cause and manner of death?
Yes.
What is it?
Cause of death is the initiating event, which could be an injury or it could be a disease that starts the chain that results in death. Manner is how that death, it's more circumstances of the death. In other words, a gunshot wound could be an accident, a suicide, or a homicide, depending on how that gunshot wound was sustained. And then the natural deaths have no trauma at all.
Okay. Which of those or both go on a death certificate?
Both.
Okay.
John asked when Willie Meggs was protecting them, had the FBI become involved yet? Yeah, so remember, the FBI did the bump. So that was April of 16. So yes, when we have that undercover footage, and this was all deleted last night because I got the strike, that undercover footage outside and all that was FBI. Okay. So yes, but we know there were 30 agents working on Donna's case. So at what point does it become more them? I don't really know, but that is going on.
Does it sometimes take a long period of time between finding a decedent and having a death certificate signed?
Yes, in my area, yes.
Why?
Because there's a lot of laboratory studies, medical records, maybe investigation that has to go into it.
Okay. You said that almost on a
Yeah, Ruth Ann says, and they were arrested, charged, and convicted with the same info. Yeah, so that 16, that was before the audio got cleared up in 22. I mean, I just think they lost a few years with all the COVID stuff, unfortunately. And then they got all the information. I mean, Donna trying to flee the country, those jail calls. I mean, how many times did Charlie say over and over and over she couldn't help herself? Oh, I'm releasing another jail call video today.
daily basis, you are conducting autopsies, is that right?
Yes,
Are there different parts of an autopsy?
yes.
Could you please explain those to the jury?
The first is the external exam, and I do that before the patient is altered. In other words, if a person comes in with clothes and medical devices attached, or even things that may have caused injuries, like there's a knife still in the body, I examine the body and document it at that point. Then,
Yep, Mia, if online rep management is via trolls, bots, etc., are allegedly being utilized, then maybe the same people who paid for Katie's criminal defense team is paying for the bots. Yeah, that was discussed last night. Pat Sanford says, gosh, Miami is Fort Lauderdale are huge cities. What are the odds Marcus and Tara Coas would have offices next to each other? And June says, y'all have got to go listen to it. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. That Charlie was bragging continually how good Katie's attorney was. And that Katie wouldn't take the immunity deal because they weren't involved. So it's interesting.
the body is undressed, the medical devices are removed, and I do another examination looking for things that I couldn't see the first time, and looking at other marks of injury or disease. Then the internal part comes where we examine and make incisions to look at the internal organs, and we take body fluids and tissues for study and laboratory testing.
Do you have a lab in the Waukesha County Medical Examiner's office?
No.
Maybe this is what we do. We start going under the guise of other old cases, and then we come in here and talk the case. Love it.
Lab do you use?
Depends on the test. We have options for toxicology labs. We have options for laboratory testing like blood cultures or chemistries. I have a lab that does the slides, that cuts the slides so I can look at them under the microscope. So there's a variety of places that I might use.
Okay. When you make a cause of death determination, do you need to consider more things than just your autopsy process?
Yes, the cause of death. There are some causes of death that aren't even found at autopsy. One might be diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a chemical imbalance. An autopsy, well, I should say, the gross autopsy and microscopic autopsy won't do that, but the chemical tests I run will show that. So I guess the autopsy will show that, but I was thinking in terms of what I could see with my own eyes.
Okay. What other types of information do you try to analyze if you can before ultimately concluding a cause of death?
I need to know the investigation, the scope, how is the body found? What do we know about the person that died? What do we know about the most recent events about that person around the time of their death? So there's the history, there's what was seen, what was found at the scene, my eyes and ears. So that helps to fill in like how the person was found, and the autopsy and the laboratory testing.
Okay. What about if you're able to have access to a decedent's medical records? Do you review those?
Absolutely. We look, I think I mentioned that earlier, but yes, I do look at the historical data, the medical records, and also investigative information.
Okay. I'm going to jump back a second to manner of death. What are the different options for manner?
In Wisconsin, and this can vary state to state, but in Wisconsin, we're given 5 choices. It's natural, accident, homicide, suicide, and undetermined.
Okay. What would an example of natural death be?
A heart attack.
Okay. What about an example of accidental?
Blunt trauma from a motor vehicle accident.
Okay. And all 5 of those manner of death types have you used in your?
Oh, Mia, that is a really good question. What is a JDA? So, for those of you that don't know, a JDA is what we call a joint defense agreement. And that's when defense attorneys from multiple parties are working together. And apparently, in the Adelsons, they had a JDA since 2017. You have a defense attorney since 2017. It's interesting.
Or work?
Yes.
Okay. Multiple times?
Yes.
Okay. Are there occasions when you find the need to consult with other professionals before finalizing a cause of death determination?
Yes.
Is that actually pretty?
Rebecca says, I don't support conspiracy theories about politicians and judges protecting the Adelsons. Being chicken is closer to the truth. Well, I unfortunately do believe there's a lot of dirty stuff at hand. And I think we see that in our federal government or state government. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It absolutely goes on. I want to talk about somebody I voted for, Senator Marsha Blackburn. Know her, know who she is. She knows my parents. Okay. She lives in a very, very wealthy area in Nashville with a very nice home. She was not like totally wealthy. I want you all to ask yourselves, why do all these politicians in DC get filthy rich? And I don't mean just rich, I mean really rich. Do you know when they fundraise for their campaigns, at the end of their campaign, anything left over, they get to keep? Think about that. There's a lot going on in this world.
Common?
Yes.
Okay. What about doing research on your own before determining a cause of death?
Yes.
Dr. Bedritsky, I'd like to talk to you about this case involving the decedent Lynn Hernan. Were you involved in the cause of death and manner determination for Lynn Hernan?
Yes.
Okay. First, I want to talk to you about the autopsy process. Now, did you conduct an autopsy on Ms. Hernan in this case?
Yes,
And when you conduct autopsies, are you always following the same best practices and standards set for you in your field?
I would say yes. I mean, every case has its own specific things, but in general, there's a standard practice.
Ultimately, do you memorialize the autopsy process and conclusions in a report?
Yes,
Is that often referred to as a protocol?
yes.
I'd like to show just the witness, please, states Exhibit 34. And doctor, again, this is a multiple page exhibit.
Oh, here for today. Filthy rich. Meanwhile, brother-in-law can't afford health insurance premium. Awful. Do you know what it costs me for just a few of us? About $2,400 a month. That's for health, vision, and dental insurance. $2,400. It's no joke. Wish I had federal insurance.
And I'm going to have Ms. DeValkenier please scroll slowly through all 8 pages.
Agree, sidebar Snoop.
And Dr. Budritsky, do you recognize Exhibit 34?
Yes,
What is it?
it's the autopsy report I prepared on Lynn Hernan.
Okay.
My next live is going to be titled How to Fix a Shattered TV for $5K.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of that?
Yes,
Okay. I'd move Exhibit 34 into evidence. I'm not asking for permission to publish at this point.
Any objection to 34? No. Exhibit 34 is received.
Now, this protocol, is that something that you can complete as soon as your autopsy is done?
no, I take notes during the autopsy. I dictate from those notes. And then until I have all the other information, like the laboratory finding and my conclusions, then I finalize it.
And is that what happened in this case, that you needed to wait to finalize this?
Yes,
Okay. In this case, did you specifically send any items to a lab for
Yes.
testing? When you send toxicology samples, do you always use the same lab?
no, I use one of 2 labs. In 2018, I don't know if I only used 1 or 2 labs. I primarily use a lab called NMS for most of my cases, but sometimes, at least now, I send some cases to the State Lab of Hygiene.
Okay. If you needed a more comprehensive report, which lab would you pick?
NMS
Okay. Where is that lab located?
in Pennsylvania.
In this case with Ms. Hernan, did you send samples to NMS labs?
I did,
Actually, multiple times?
yes.
Okay. I'd like to show the witness, please, Exhibit 35. And again, Dr. Budritsky, is there something on your screen?
Yes,
Okay, great. I would just have Ms. DeValkenier please slowly scroll through the 14-page exhibit. And Dr. Budritsky, do you recognize Exhibit 35?
yes, this
What it-
was, oh, I'm sorry.
What is it?
This was the final, the fourth actually, and the final report from NMS Labs on the specimens from Lynn Hernan's autopsy.
Is this something that you used in order to determine the cause of death in this case?
Yes.
In fact, is it often included right behind your protocol?
Yes, it's often, if people request my autopsy protocol, rather than copying everything that's on the report, I would just attach it to my report.
Okay. And is that what you did in this case?
Yes,
Is that a fair and accurate copy of the final report from NMS Labs in this case?
yes.
I move Exhibit 35 into evidence.
Exhibit 35 is received.
Dr. Bedritsky, do you know roughly the time frame that you received the toxicology initially in this case?
I think it was possibly November after I did the autopsy in September or in October.
Okay. When you received the toxicology, did you end up contacting NMS Labs?
Yes,
Why?
because there was a substance that I was an unusual finding that I hadn't seen in a report from their facility before. It was called tetrahydrozoline.
Why did you contact the lab about that?
I wanted to know specifically if there was more testing that should be done. In other words, if you find a surprising finding, I mean, many of the findings in their toxicology report were things that I was familiar with and were found in her investigation in terms of the medication she had access to. But tetrahydrozoline just sort of came out of nowhere. So I called them and I said, you know, what's your experience with this? Should I send another specimen? Can we confirm it through another means? Because this is an unexpected result.
In terms of the autopsy itself in this case, were there remarkable findings that kind of pointed you in a certain direction about what the manner of death might be?
Because there were a number of medication bottles at the scene, there were scattered pills on the floor, there was powder kind of ground up on her body. There was a thought that maybe there was an ingestion was a possibility for the.
There's 8 more minutes of this, and then we'll end for today. I'll give some final thoughts on everything, and yeah.
Cause of death. She had also been recently released from the hospital, and she was on a lot of medication, so she clearly had some medical conditions. So perhaps natural disease was the cause of death. So I would say initially that was my thought.
Okay. Ultimately, Dr. Bedritsky, if we could, Ms. DeValkenir could flip back to Exhibit 34, please. When did your protocol get finished in this matter?
Sometime after I determined the cause of death. So the death certificate would be signed first, then it's just the paperwork of including all your data and proofreading the report and signing it.
And Ms. DeValkenir, if we could please show the witness Exhibit 36. Dr. Bedritsky, this is a single-page exhibit. Do you see it on the screen before you?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a cause of death letter that we send because death records are not available in general to everybody, only, next of kin typically. It's a vital record. But the information that I determine regarding cause of death might be necessary to release so that people know what the determination of cause of death is. So it's basically a short form saying that. So this is a letter I constructed, or the office constructed, based on what was on the death certificate of Lynn Hernan regarding the cause and manner of death and how the injury occurred.
What's the date on this exhibit?
September 27th, 2019.
And remind the jury when you did the autopsy?
October 4th, 2018.
So fair to say a lot of time passed between the autopsy and your determination in this case?
Yes.
Is that common?
This long, not common, but there were 4 different submissions for toxicology. And I wanted to be very sure, based on what my final determination was, that I had not failed to consider any further or new information.
And is Exhibit 36 a fair and accurate copy of the letter your office produced in this case?
I can't see the exhibit number, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just scroll down. Thank you.
yes.
I'd move Exhibit 36 into evidence, ask for permission to publish.
36 is received.
Yeah, is Jesse's demeanor worse than Corey's? It's pretty bad.
Permission to publish is granted.
There's a little bit of a delay, so I just want to make sure that it's in the jury box before we continue. All right, I think I even saw the light go on some of your faces, so that's a clue. Dr. Bedritsky, is this Exhibit 36 that you were just shown on your screen?
Yes.
If we could scroll down, please. Okay. And we're going to go much more in depth into these determinations, but before the lunch break here, I'd just like you to explain to the jury the content in the middle paragraph of this and what your findings were in this case.
Okay. It's structured as a death certificate is structured. So what my obligation is to fill out the death certificate is to fill out what they call the primary cause of death. And that's like part 1. And part 2 are all the other conditions that contributed significantly to the cause of death. Then there's, if it's not a natural.
So the letter says cause of death is tetrahydrozoline poisoning. That's the key ingredient in Visine that reduces the red. Okay.
Death, how did an injury occur, and the time and place, and how it occurred. So the cause of death I determined was tetrahydrozoline poisoning. I also determined that there were other significant conditions. I think it's important to say that the CDC has instructions on filling out a death certificate, and other significant conditions should not include things that are historical. It should include things that affect the cause of death in a significant way. So you should be able to say why you put that in there. So under that conditions, I included a number of other medications, including baclofen, ropinirole, alprazolam, hydrocodone, and cyclobenzaprine use, other medications. I also put in some of her important natural diseases, including interstitial myocarditis, hypertension, hepatic steatosis, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Then I have to determine a manner of death. I have to pick one of the 5 manners, and I determined it was a homicide, which is a medical determination, not based on law enforcement or criminal rules. It's a public health determination, actually. And how this injury occurred is that she was given tetrahydrozoline by another, which is why I called it a homicide. If it was self-administered, it would be something else. And the use of baclofen, ropinirole, alprazolam, hydrocodone, and cyclobenzaprine. So I have to indicate all of those unnatural conditions as injury.
Thank you, Dr. Bedritsky. I think this would be a good.
All right. So that was good. That's a good place to stop for that trial. But I have a few final thoughts. Mia, thank you as always. Happy you're listening. Have a great day. And I'm going to share one more thing here. This is an article from Above the Law. This too was right around September of 2016, the one I just read before this from the American Bar Association. This is following the ABC 2020 segment, In-Laws and Outlaws. So this is right before it was announced that Luis Rivera was cooperating. And I want to read one thing. The broadcast poses the next logical question. What connected Dan Markel to Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera? The answer, Catherine McBanois, who was dating Charlie Adelson at the time of the murder, but was the baby mama, ABC's term, not mine, of Sigfredo Garcia. ABC notes the Adelson's family denial of involvement in Dan's murder. Michael Weinstein, a lawyer to the Adelsons and close friend of Charlie, appears on camera to stress that the family had no involvement whatsoever and that Charlie, a really easygoing, have a beer, relaxed kind of guy, could never engage in such conduct. The next highlight from the segment, footage of an undercover agent's initial in-person interaction with Donna Adelson. For background on that sting investigation, click here. Donna does seem confused by the agent's reference to the problem you guys had up north, telling him, I don't know what you're talking about. This is helpful evidence for Donna. But some of the subsequent nervous communications she had with Charlie about the interactions are, well, less helpful. The broadcast concludes with odds and ends. We see Charlie Adelson not talking to ABC News reps, instead driving off in his CL 550, referred to in the segment inaccurately so as his $100,000 Mercedes. I totally remember watching this episode. We see Orrin Snyder again talking about how Danny's parents have been doing everything within their power to maintain a relationship with their grandchildren. We are reminded of how Wendy changed the surnames of her two children with Dan from Markel to Adelson, supposedly to protect their privacy, but possibly, at least in my opinion, to sever her kids' remaining ties to their father and his side of the family. Near the end of the 2020 segment, ABC News asks the Adelsons, are they headed from the penthouse to the big house? So far, they seem to be safe. They haven't been charged with any crimes. And State Attorney Willie Meggs has referred to the evidence against them as speculation. But as Meggs himself said or noted last night, this case is far from over. And I would say it is still far from over. Yes, and why change the middle name? It's a very good question here for today. And Jolie, and sidebar, I just want to say that I'm really sad that I can't see Jolie's comments, but I think somehow you might have clicked on something. I've done this before. I clicked on those little dots and accidentally blocked somebody, but I hope it's figured out. But Sunday Fun Day, have a great day, and stay tuned for more live streams and topics. You know what I'm saying? Bye.
I'm Leslie B, justice seeker, story keeper, and we're still watching, waiting for justice.